Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Three Sticks Together Chef Series. Bill and I are here today co-hosting with two of our favorite people in Sonoma. We absolutely love our guests today. We have Sondra Bernstein and John Toulze of the Girl and the Fig Empire. And we really couldn't be more excited. These are people who we consider our friends, our compatriots, and we're really looking forward to having a great conversation with all of you today. I want to just take a quick second to let you know how to use this platform. We really want to get your questions. We'll be monitoring the Q&A, the question and answer. You can also send all of it through chat if you prefer. And I'll be looking at that so that the conversation can go on naturally and organically. So please be sure to send us any questions that you want to hear from John, from Sondra, from Bill. We're here for that, and we're going to talk about food and wine, and of course, very timely, we're going to talk about the reopenings that are underway now. So,
well, let's start with a toast to that.
Yeah.
John, you're reopened already across the street, and we're opening tomorrow here at the Adobe. And so let's toast to being back in business and able to see our customers again.
Amen. Cheers to that.
Yeah.
So we're starting out with a little Pinot Blanc from our Durrell Vineyard. Is that what you two are drinking over there?
Yep, it's scrumptious. I mean, it's so good.
Well, thank you. We really enjoy making it. I've always loved the wines of Alsace, and I didn't quite see people doing Pinot Blanc in California the way I thought it should be done. So typical Three Sticks, we planted some in Durrell, figured out how it worked, and now we've got a wine we're really proud of. John, what would you think of pairing with that?
I mean, Bill, the wine's beautiful, and the balance on it and the structure is perfect. And what I loved about it is drinking it, obviously, but there's there's such a nice acid structure, but and the fruit just comes through. So to me, it's one of those wines where, boy, we could have a lot of fun. I definitely think fish is a beautiful thing with this wine. But I think you could, back to that kind of Alsatian element to it or thought process, I could see a little smoky elements in some of those, items. It could take that because it has such a nice crispness to it and balance, really a good diversity. But I'd like to see fish. Obviously, trout's one of the ideas that really jumped out at me. But something like that. But it can take some richness because it has such wonderful structure to go through it.
Great.
I love this wine.
Oh, I think it's dangerous.
It is
really easy drinking.
I buy this wine in magnum sizes, and whenever I have my girlfriends over to get in the pool, this is, I mean, it's really, that's what I pair this wine with, is my pool and my girlfriend.
That's awesome. Pinot Blanc and pool.
Well, Sondra, tell us a little bit about reopening your iconic restaurant. I know my family and I have been hitting the Fig Cafe regularly, and at some point, John, you got to tell me about the hanger steak there, because that's unbelievable. But Sondra, talk about opening back up. What can the customers expect when they get back into your place?
Well, we've been going very, very slow and trying to be strategic and smart. And part of it is it's gonna, shutting down such a large restaurant, it's gonna take a lot to get it back up. And so we will be starting from scratch, like it's the very first day we open the restaurant. I mean, there's no food in there, right? Well, there's a little bit of food today, but just to get the menu ready, it's a lot. So I call the Wicked Slush Phase 1, and I'm calling the Grab and Go with the Wicked Slush Phase 2. And hopefully next week we'll be opening the sidewalk dining. And I think how many tables, John?
About 9, 10, yeah.
About 10 tables outside. Yep. And then I'm waiting for a memo from the city about the plaza. So we're gonna hopefully have 10 tables of 4 on the plaza.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so awesome.
Reservation.
Yeah. So they're going to offer it to a bunch of restaurants. I know probably Carlo is doing it. I don't know who else. And we're just kind of going back and forth, kind of thinking about what we want to do and kind of dialing that out. And then we'll have to go. So like during the day, people can take their to-go food and sit there and have a reservation, have a table. And then at night, I'm not positive. So soon as John and I,
would you be able to do table service there, like from the restaurant?
Doing kind of a modified, we'll try it, but I worry about our staff running back and forth across that busy intersection. Yeah. So we're going to see what we can do well, so we don't tarnish our reputation.
Yeah. Well, that's really important in these times. I mean, we've all worked very hard to establish our reputation for hospitality and for doing things in an extraordinarily high quality way at your restaurant and at our, Adobe. And it's unacceptable to offer anything different. So we've got to make sure whatever we do is up to our standards. Yeah. Now, you mentioned something briefly, and I'm not going to let you fly back at that. We've got the wicked slushy we have here. Tell me what this is as I sample it.
So I met Amy Coven, who owns Wicked Slush, because I had her on my podcast called The Bite Goes On. And she was just such a hoot and such an entrepreneur. And she was an accountant and she did all the stuff. She's got a place in Healdsburg and Petaluma. And while we were tossing things around, John was like, maybe we should do Wicked Slush while we're still closed. I'm like, oh my God, I will call her. And they're such a nice family and they couldn't be happier. And so today was day 3, little slower, I think, than yesterday, the weather, I think. But it's fun, and the Cracker Jacks and seeing the kids and trying to get, we have to serve it's a bona fide meal. I hope you know that.
No, this is dinner right here.
Wait, exactly. I want to see what my prize is.
Hopefully there's one in there. But and then today, John added some food items, and that actually I think went over well. And it's just slow and steady. I did a survey about a month and a half ago, asking for people's temperature about how they want to come in, how they want to come back, where their comfort level is. We got over 500 responses, which I thought was incredible. And awesome. even on that, people wrote their feelings on it. Yeah. So, usually people just check the boxes but people wrote, and everybody's got a different idea of what is going to feel safe for them, what they expect. And I don't want to ruin our reputation because we're not the best sanitizer or, we miss something, and it's weighing on us a little bit. And at the same time, keeping our quality and keeping the staff motivated and trying to identify who is who with the masks on, that's always challenging. Yeah.
Well, and there are tight spaces there too. That piece of of staff safety is, can't be overstated. It really is important. I mean, looking at the restaurant behind you in your screen there, Sondra, it's part of what's so, I know, part the bar, and it's fun because you sit crammed together and
Right. It's like a party.
Yeah.
So I don't think the inside is going to get open any too soon. I think especially with Wicked Slush going, because that's kind of a noisy thing on our part. But we'll do the sidewalk, we'll get the plaza, we'll get the patio opened, and I think once that happens, we'll be in good shape for the summer.
Yeah.
Great. So John, what kind of food items are you adding back first? How are you thinking about how the menu reopens?
I know the farm must be going nuts.
The farm is going nuts, and it actually looks better now than it has in a couple of years. It's amazing the time you find time for farming. And we're still working on it, Bill. I think it's back to what you really hit on, which is the qualitative element. And so we worked on a menu and today a little bit. And I know Sondra's looking at it and she's going to put her 2 cents in on it. But it's trying to figure out what that right balance is going to be to kind of give people what they've known and grown to expect from the Grown Fig, but also in a new experience. Yeah. So I think it's, and I also think that for the near term, people are going to have more day experiences than evening experiences. And so I think it's going to be more lunch-based, but I think doing some beautiful fresh salads, maybe a chilled soup. Tomato season is upon us.
I know, I need that watermelon and tomato salad.
It's coming your way. It's
exactly.
coming your way.
And you know, Sondra doesn't want to give it away, but she had some great ideas today for the park. So I'm going to give it away. But I think doing some thematic meals, you know,
cool. So fun. Where
you can reserve a table under the stars, bring your bottle of 3 Sticks, and have this meal prepared and ready for you at the table. So, you know, we've got some ideas. I won't go too far because I know Sondra's still working on some of those, but Thursday could be this night, Friday could be this night. And I know that one of our favorite places to go in France is a little place down in Beau in Provence where every night is a different meal. But, you know, you use the night based on the cuisine. So I think something like that is something. And I think
this town and visitors would be all over that. That's fabulous.
Yeah, and as hard as it is right now, it's also an opportunity to, you know, step back and try something that probably we couldn't do otherwise.
Yeah, that's great. I think people are definitely looking for new experiences, and it's going to be awesome to have you on the plaza. That'll be really terrific.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
Very fun.
So we're going to switch over, at least I'm switching over to a little Castagnata rosé.
Where'd you get that? I don't have any rosé.
And I didn't get a bottle of that either, just FYI.
Oh, Sondra, honey, you need this one. You know you need this one.
No, I do. I'm teasing. I'm so grateful for this. Actually, the Pinot Blanc, and I know you were teasing me earlier. Yeah, we are total Rhone heads. But
so you have to explain that. I'm sure everybody knows, probably 90% of the people know that. But you only serve Rhone wines
except for our sparkling, because we haven't found enough to, you know, just be the best sparkling Rhone varietal. There's more coming, which is kind of cool. But we never really intended for this to be this wine list forever. We kind of said we don't have enough money. So we'll start. I know, lucky you, Maral. Are you at my front door with a bottle of rosé? Hopefully this week. But so, you know, we didn't have a big budget, and we wanted it to make sense. And we knew that as we sold things, we could buy things. And I didn't want credit at all when we opened. So we paid for everything. I had a checkbook in my back pocket every day. And if we couldn't afford it, we didn't buy it. Now 23 years later, people are telling me having some debt is a good thing. But that just didn't occur to me. And, you know, so when we opened in 97, we had pretty much a dozen or so wines. Everything was Rhone varietal except for one by accident. And everything was by the glass or the bottle. And people, the winemakers were excited because it was the first time they could sit down and have 3 Syrahs or, you know, 2 Roussins. And we had like John Albin's Viognier on way back when you could afford it. Great wine, great winemaker. And, you know, and so when people kind of liked it, we were like, okay, we can do this. And the other thing is John and I both came from the Once Winery. So we learned very well from Sam how to sell Italian varietals. And I think we needed a break from Italy and France, you know, the Rhone and Provence. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's worked out well. We've made some beautiful, beautiful relationships all over the world. And,
well, and I love your wine list. I love that because it is a mashup of California Rhone wines and French Rhone wines and maybe all over the world. But it's wonderful to have something focused on, with a point of view. And I learn every time I go there. I love getting the flights that you guys serve. Those are the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Really
Good. Well, you're definitely the only restaurant that we actually created a wine for.
My heart is
I was so irritated every time I came in there. I sit down to eat your terrific food, and then I was like, "There's no Three Sticks wines on this list. They're right across the street, for Christ's sake." But,
well, and we sell a ton of it. The servers love it.
Well, and you guys are the only restaurant in the whole world that will ever have it. So it really is.
It's gorgeous, too. The Castanata is gorgeous. Such a
and the bottle is such like a crowd
fun. Yeah.
I know. I should grab it just so people can see.
Yeah.
Such a gorgeous.
Awesome.
Well, it's been, and then of course we when we first released the rosé on Valentine's Day, the first year we ran out of it by like April, and the next year May, and I kept saying we have to have enough of this to actually get through the summer. You're supposed to be drinking it in August.
Yeah, so fun.
We had to make a white and a red so we could have something for you year round because
exactly.
I know we'll get the rosé over to you stat.
So Prim was just waving the red blend we do. John, tell me about that steak. That's a really wonderful job on that steak. What do you do with that then?
Well, it's one of my favorite cuts, which is the hanger steak, which many terms known as the butcher steak. It's one of those cuts that for a long time, and still to this day, it's very rare to see it outside of a butcher shop or a restaurant. But the structure of that particular meat, it's a very large cellular structure meat, and it has such great flavor to it. But it's one of those steaks that when you cook it, it goes from rare to kind of medium rare to well done. It doesn't have an in between, but it has that flavor. So we do a marinated on it, Bill, for about 48 hours. That kind of, because of its structure, it really absorbs it. And then when you get it onto the grill, it chars. And it's just, that gives it that little bit of caramelization. It's got that really kind of great beefy flavor. Obviously, we're using a really high quality cut and provider. And the marinade's simple. It's a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. It's some thyme. It's some garlic. It's a tiniest splash of balsamic, and the littlest bit of tamari. Because obviously, we want it to be
umami in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's it. And then just let it sit for a while, and there you go.
Okay,
Gary Saperstein's watching. He's getting hungry.
So the only problem is we have all these people who are thinking it's 5:48 and 48 hours from now is a long way away.
Well, they can get it at the cafe right now, and it happened 48 hours ago. So it's
exactly. Time is not an issue.
Yeah.
We do have a couple questions coming in here. We have a fan that agrees with me that the best burger in Sonoma is the burger at the Girl and the Fig, and they want to know, what do you do, or what do you attribute that fantastic burger to? How do you get it so succulent and delicious?
Well, we use, right now, our beef comes from Marin Sons over in, it's kind of straddles the Marin Sonoma county lines. So a lot of grass-fed beef there, obviously. The grind is specific to us as far as the fat content. That's super important. Yeah. If it's too lean, it's just not going to hold its flavor, and fat gives so much flavor. Too much fat, obviously nobody wants that greasy burger.
Yeah.
And then I think a big deal is hand forming your burgers, right? So when you're working with meat, we obviously, one of the other things I have a passion for, and Sondra and I love doing, is we cure and make all our own salamis, mortadellas, everything. And what you learn in working with meat is meat in some ways has similar properties as if you're working with a dough. You work it a little bit more, it binds differently. And so I think one of the secrets is working that meat a little bit when you hand form it, so it comes together, and then throw it on a hot grill. That's the thing. So it gets, you want enough fat so it's going to drip, but not so much that it's going to burn. And that's so great meat. Watch your grind. You want to coarser grind, not too much. Don't be afraid of your fat. And then really get in there, handle it.
I have no more confidence in myself being able to replicate what you just said. So, or just go to the girl and the pig in order.
So he forgot
Lisa Lee wants to know which blue cheese is on that burger.
What's that?
John forgot one step of that burger. So while the guys are pounding it and molding it and squeezing it, they're loving it. And they're chanting.
Yes.
They have a special chant from, that makes sure when it comes out, you are going to magically be loved by whoever bites into you. So that is. And the blue cheese is Cambozola.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
So-
I need to learn the chant.
Yeah.
How do you decide when to put the cheese on the burger?
When you're about 2 minutes from pulling it off the grill. So, if it's for me and it's rare to medium rare, the second you flip it over.
Perfect. I mean, I actually agree with Prema. Burger, I love to cook. I got my whole rib thing going and, tri-steak and all that. But burger, when you got 4 kids, 2 want cheddar, 1 wants, Monterey Jack, 1 wants a medium rare. But I'm just like, way too much information.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like watching, all the chefs behind the line when our burger orders, like we never thought our number 1 item would be a burger. We were like, okay, we didn't intend to be like a burger restaurant, but it's amazing to me how they can remember how to time all their burgers. And when they put 1 on the grill, and if they have 15 on the grill, getting it out when it's ready. And
totally, which ones are medium or medium
yeah,
rare?
it's amazing to me.
To me, it's way trickier than steak, because a steak you can just look at and sort of see it coalescing, or you can touch it and sort of feel the surface tension. Burger, I have no idea. I'm just like,
It's funny because it really is one of the hardest things to cook right when you're busy and to get that thing. And if you're serving it to, us, we want our medium rare,
right?
Not medium.
Right.
No.
We want it medium rare. And it's funny, it's one of the few times, well, I shouldn't say few, but it's one of the times where tension can arise between the front of the house and the back of the house. Which is,
totally.
It comes back and says, hey, this was medium. And the kitchen goes, yeah, because you took 3 minutes to walk it there.
Yeah, right.
But there's an art to it. And I think, too, one of the things I've always enjoyed working with Sondra is like, and I see this in what you guys do over there is what we do in some ways very complicated, but really simple. And it's the simplest things that I think show us the best. Like nailing a burger is simple, but boy, it's hard. Yeah. And if you can nail that, then those things that you go up the ladder are actually easier to do.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's totally right. I was told by a sushi aficionado once that if you go to a new sushi restaurant, you always order the little egg pancake, because if they can do that egg pancake right, then you can know they can do everything else. Because spider roll is way easier than doing that very simple thing correctly.
Holding that egg, no sushi restaurant for me.
I mean, the same, people talk about that, like when they interview chefs, they say make an omelet, and, is it moist and is it flavorful, or, and that has a lot of focus on whether they can be patient and work.
Getting the egg just right, like the perfect consistency where it's cooked, but it's not brown. Hard. So, we have a couple more questions coming in. We've got a question for the Adobe. What are new changes with the guidelines that we'll see at the Adobe. And I can speak to that. Luckily at 3.6, we're super well formatted for what the changes are. So already we offered by appointment, super private tastings for people. So we didn't really have to change a lot about our format. But of course, there's the layer of safety precautions that we've added. So all staff will be wearing masks and be distanced from their guests, which typically our host would sit down at the table with people. And they may, if the table, many of our tables are long, so they may sit at the end of the table. But there's this is the official 3.6 mask.
Nice.
So yeah, and it's really, we're trying to do a touchless entry where people would call on their cell phone and we get the door for them and things like that. But once you're here and you're seated and you take your mask off, it really is the same experience for guests. There's a lot of attention put into how we set the tables and sort of pre-setting the tables, so that can all happen. Our staff will be wearing gloves while they're doing that, and so there won't be any human contact to people's glasses, and the gloves piece is new, but that will be behind, that won't be in front of customers. So yeah, I mean, I think otherwise it's really the same. We're trying to stagger the way people come in also, so that before we had 3 tasting times and all the groups would arrive at the same time. And so now we're staggering that and making sure that that doesn't happen.
And we also have 3 different ways to leave the Adobe, which has always been very useful.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. For some reasons, others.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Depending on what your need is.
Now I'll let the others know about the 2 other secret ways. So, John, tell me a little bit, as the garden starts to bloom here and just so many things are coming on, how do you decide what you want to have from a vegetable standpoint? And I mean, some of your presentations are so unique. How do you think about presenting vegetables as part of your menu?
I think it's a great question. And I think every year it changes so much. And I think more than anything, the garden has been more for us about really understanding seasons. Because what I learned the first 5, 6 years, 7 years of doing the garden was, I had all these plans. I'm going to plant the tomatoes. I'm going to plant all these varieties of eggplant and these herbs, and look at these edible flowers. I'm going to plant them now, and they're going to be ready then, and then I'm going to do this with it. And every year, I'd plant them then, and they weren't ready then, and then I would end up doing that.
Yeah.
And so I think what's been really, really fascinating and continues with the garden is this year we're doing a lot different peppers, kind of spreading out a fair amount of our tomato varieties. We're also having a lot of fun with a bunch of unique Chinese onions that we're excited that we're going to dry and turn into different powders, kind of to finish off a plate. And so I think this year is going to be kind of a little bit different, because going into the season, we had part of the garden planted obviously for the summer and the fall, but obviously we had an inclination that things were going to be a little different. So we spent a little bit more of our efforts on doing some things that we can dry and use in different cocktail presentations, or like the Chinese onions that we could dry in powder and use as a garnish. And doing some little different cucumber combinations that we could pickle and then potentially use in it. So this year, the garden's kind of inspiring us to think a little differently and try some different things, because we're not quite sure yet how we're going to be able to get that to the plate. Yeah. Obviously, we're still going to have some of those key things, which to me, which I see again with what you guys do, which is you have the best fruit ever, so your wines are great. Just grow the best tomato ever. And then serve it on the plate and pretend like I did something.
Yeah.
I hope that answers kind of.
That was an awesome answer. But just being mindful of time, we do have one more question, and it was, when are we going to collaborate together? And I want to say that we are so excited. Of course, it's moved now, but we are working with you guys to do our most important dinner of the whole year. and that's our storehouse dinner. It's for our Mariposa Club members. It's for our VIPs. And it was supposed to be in July, and it's hopped over to October now. But it's a truly special evening. And you know, that's the sort of next time. I mean, it's all a moving target at this point, but that's when we think we're going to be collaborating.
We're so honored you asked us to partner with you. It's such an honor, truly.
Of course.
Oh, well, it's fantastic. And it's going to be before then, though, Prem, because if they have tables out in the plaza, I'm going to be wandering around. Bottle of Pinot Blanc.
Yeah, I'll be collaborating with you tonight, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think you could just come over with a little, square, a bicycle basket full of wine and just sell it as we go.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much, both, for joining us tonight. We love being part of the community with you. You are just a landmark and an institution, and the city will be all the much better once your restaurant is up and running and open and greeting people again, because you do a terrific job.
Sonoma's not Sonoma without you guys. It really is important to the whole community.
Thank you. We're trying.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. You're so thoughtful. We know.
Yeah, thank you. Hey. Thank you.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Love you guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.